That Paul guy. So the other day we were talking about the Corsair, putting the Corsair case back to use and getting everything in it. And there were a couple things I neglected to mention. And I did like film that stuff, but trying to throw that stuff into the story and all while I was editing would end up making for just, a longer video. And it was already, the last several I've already put out have all been 13 or 14 minutes. And that one was like 10 or 11 minutes. And I figured, you know what, we'll just save it for the next one. So what we're going to talk about today is actually what do you have, or what happens when you have all these fans in here and you don't have enough fan headers on your motherboard to take care of that. Or better yet, RGB, because you see that I've got the Prism cooler right here, and then there's a Cooler Master fan in the back. But in this case, I was okay. I had 2 RGB headers, but what if you only have one? Or what if you have one RGB header and one addressable RGB header? So a 3-pin and a 4-pin, or I guess that the other way around would be a 4-pin header and a 3-pin header. Then what do? You're kind of left a little bit in a lurch. So there's a couple things especially like with the 3 on the front here. I went ahead and used a 3-to-1. And they'll come in a pack. You can get them in multi-packs, you can get them in singles. I got it from Amazon. It was pretty easy. 2 of these came in a pack. I used the one on here, and then I've still got one spare because I know that I'm going to be building another computer, so that will always come in handy. There are 2-way splitters. Each one of these splitters has, especially if it's going from 4-pin, you'll notice that the little 4, even if your fan's a 3-pin, they'll fit on a 4-pin header in your motherboard. Well, these will fit on a 4-pin header on your motherboard, but the connectors will have one 4-pin and the rest of them will be 3-pin. Now, they might not necessarily match up with the 3 pins that are on your connector, but that's okay. They will still fit, the male and female will still fit, even if they don't plug into your motherboard the same way. The reason why that is because you're putting a signal back to your motherboard to tell you what the fan speed is, and one of those has to be in charge of that. So that's the one that has the 4 pins. The 3-pin just has to go along with whatever speed or be controlled to whatever speed, and it will work fine. So that's not going to be any issue at all. So you'll have one that will be 3, one that will be 4, and the rest of them will be 3, whether it's a 2-way splitter or a 3-way splitter. And those are pretty inexpensive. You can get those. I believe I got them for like $6 or $7 a pack at Amazon. They came in a 2-pack. You can get a little bit more expensive ones, but they fit in pretty easily. Like I said, I did one for the 3 set of fans here, and I did another for the set of 2 fans up at top, which do not have RGB. They're just regular. These were the Corsairs that hooked back into the Node Core. But the Cooler Master and the Cooler Master fan and the AMD both had RGB on them as well, which would fit into an RGB header on your motherboard. Well, what if you don't have that? What if you only have one header? Well, these come into the rescue too. They also make these in RGB splitters. In this case, it's a 3-way. This happened to come with the Cooler Master all-in-one cooler. And it takes 3 different RGB 4-pin inputs, the 4-pin, not the 3-pin. 3-pin's an addressable RGB, that's a different animal. The reason why I say that's important is because when you go to put these in your motherboard, it will say RGB 12 or 12 volt RGB. I don't remember which order it's in, but that will match up to the arrow that's on the connector itself right here. You have to match up and make sure that arrow goes to the 12. If not, you're going to cause yourself some problems, and you might actually end up destroying your light. I don't think you'll hurt your motherboard, but it might end up messing up your RGB device. It will work on RGB strips, just the regular generic RGB strips, or anything that has a standard 4-pin. Work on Cooler Master coolers. It works on the AMD Prism cooler. In my case, I did have 2 headers for my motherboard, so I wasn't worried about that. I was able to plug them in the separate places, but there are sometimes I've had motherboards before that only had 1, or might not have anything at all, where I'd have to plug it into a separate module altogether that would go, say, into a USB. So a device like that. And like I said, this one came from Cooler Master. It's got the little Cooler Master logo on the little thing there. But the reason why I have 2 that look like they have pins and one that does not is because you can pull that out. And it's a separate little connector. It's just pins to pins that you can put back in there. And hopefully I'm showing the B-roll of that like I should be. And so you'll have where they connect into each other. say this was the other one that was connecting, make sure the arrows match, and then they just connect into each other. Sometimes these are a little bit harder to push in, so you have to make sure you get a good connection. Same with on the motherboard. They are sometimes very difficult to make sure you get placed into the motherboard because even if you do get it on there, sometimes you have to be really, really patient and not bend any pins when you're trying to push it on. And so it can be a little frustrating. It's not nearly as easy as plugging something in a USB or something in a fan header. The last thing you might need, it's always a good idea to have spare SATA cables. Oh, these things, they'll come in motherboard kits. They will come, a lot of times they come with some of your retail drives. If you're getting an OEM hard drive or SATA drive, they might not come with them. But if you're getting a retail package, and it usually has in the description, it'll say retail or OEM. If it's a bare bones hard drive or something like that, it's not going to come with it in it. But these are cheap enough too. I mean, whether you're getting them that have straight sides where there's no angle, or where you have it where it has a little 90-degree angle on it, that can make all the difference in the world too when you're in a tight spot and you have to try to figure out how to get that to connect. And that little SATA port that's either on your motherboard, or if you're in a tight spot up underneath in the back of your computer where you're trying to connect that. There are 3 versions of SATA, so you want to make sure that it's one that usually on the connector itself. Sometimes it might say it on the wire. Usually it's a little bit thicker wire. It might be 26 gauge instead of 28 gauge, but a lot of times it will say on the connector itself that it's a 6 gigabit connector, and those are the SATA 3s. Those are the ones that you want to use. They are the fastest ones. This one might look good and sturdy and healthy, but this is actually an older cable out of this that I swapped out and took out to put newer ones in because I was updating the hard drive. So those, I mean, that's it. I mean, I just wanted to kind of touch on that. I realize it's not a very long video. I figured everybody could use a break, including myself. It's a little bit easier to edit something like this than it does go back and do a bunch of benchmarks and try to do a 12 or 13 minute video when you think it's going to be 6 or 7 minutes, ends up being 13 or 14 minutes long. Anyway, that's all I got for right now. That was just some of the things that I realized that when I was going over this case and putting it together that I didn't really cover, that I had already filmed and was going to show, and kind of forgot to put that in. And then by the time I remembered, it had already stretched it out to too long. So like I said, I know it's short and sweet, but that's okay. You guys need that sometimes too. Don't forget to follow me on the other socials. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and throw a like on it. If you didn't, throw a dislike. Let me know why though, so I know what to fix next time. And you know, don't forget to follow me on the other socials and subscribe. It's like 85% of the people that see these videos aren't subscribed. So don't be afraid to hit that red button down at the bottom, okay? And until next time, I'll see you later.